Okay then, and we are live for episode 6 of the World Metal Congress live stream. Hello everyone, wherever you're watching from, thank you so much for joining us. And we're just about to be joined by Lina Khatib, co-founder of the World Metal Congress. So she's just going to connect, and then we're going to bring in two very special guests indeed. Okay, here she comes. She's arriving right now, and then we can get going. Okay. 1 second. Hello, Lina. I can see you, and I think the icon indicates that you should be able to hear me as well. How are you doing today?
It's a great day, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't get better than today in 2020.
No, it doesn't. The year is capable of doing some remarkably good things too. And I think, well, tonight, I think everyone can agree. It's really cool what's happening. Now, tell me a little bit. Walk us through what World Metal Congress is, because it strikes me that a few people might be watching from around the world that have never heard from us before, but have heard of at least one of our guests tonight.
Well, the World Metal Congress is an initiative that, your hosts tonight, Alex and myself, with some other very amazing people, started last year in London. It's an initiative to bring together the global metal community. We engage in debate. We highlight key issues that are of importance to people in the scene, whether you're a musician or a fan or someone working in the industry. This is the place for you. There's so much amazing stuff happening all over the world when it comes to metal. We want to shed light on that, and we want to have a conversation more than anything else to be able to tell people about all this stuff out there. And that's basically what we're doing tonight.
Indeed, and I think we are bringing worlds and generations tonight as well, and I suppose, well, I guess, where to begin when it comes to describing the career of Max Cavalera. I can't think of a person who is a greater embodiment of what we talk about when we're talking about global metal, or indeed just what heavy metal is culturally, in terms of attitude, outlook, and so many of those things. And I think throughout his career, he's reflected so many of the values that I think we cherish as well as a WMC. But for people that might not be as familiar with Maysaloon, or indeed Jake, what's he up to these days? What's his background?
Well, tonight we're hosting Jay Shuker from Maysaloon. It's a Syrian extreme metal band. And Jake right now with his band are finishing recording their next album. He's also working on some other side projects. The key thing is they're from Syria, and I'm just really impressed by their resilience and perseverance. It's not easy at all to be in a war-torn country and still try to make it. And we're going to hear a lot about his journey and his future plans tonight.
Indeed. Well, I think it's going to be a recurring theme that there are parallels in what are two completely unique and different stories. And so we're going to bring, without further ado, Jake and Max into the conversation. It's always an exciting moment when people are on Zoom calls, but let's see where we get to. Okay, 1 moment. They are appearing any minute now. It's always exciting. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, we have a live stream.
Hi,
Fantastic
everyone.
News. Very well. How are you? Okay, Jake, how are you doing?
Great.
Are you receiving?
Yeah.
Good news.
Yeah. Everything's great. I can hear you all well.
Good news. And I think we're just about to be joined by Max as well. Max, how are you doing?
Hello, guys.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
How y'all doing?
Hi, Max.
Indeed.
Everybody good?
Everybody's good, and really all the better.
Everybody good.
Yeah, just absolutely delighted. Max and Jake, can I just say, on behalf of everyone who's watching, everyone at WMC, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I mean, we were just saying before you joined, what a meeting of worlds this is, of generations and perspectives. I mean, Max and Jake, you both have such different experiences, but we think that there are some parallels as well, and that's what we wanted to explore today. And so I guess, Max, I just wanted to kind of start because, as we've brought people together from all over the world, from Nepal, from India, and indeed, throughout the Middle East, Your name is one that resonates. Why do you think it is that heavy metal connects with so many different cultures and nationalities?
Well, first, I want to thank you guys for having me. It's I feel very privileged and honored to be part of this podcast. And I don't know. I mean, I think from Brazil is third world, and I think we are the first kind of like band that broke big out of the Brazil scene, and I think a lot of countries relate to that. I think a lot of we try to play a lot of different places, and everywhere we play, like I remember the first time we went to um, Indonesia, or when we went to even Poland. We was in the 90s. Not many bands were going there. There were always people always talk about uh, the similarities of, because there's something about third world countries. It's hard. It's a hard life, and we come from that, and that went into the music. We wanted to change people's perspective of Brazil, because a lot of people thought Brazil was all girls in bikinis and Pelé and football. But the Brazil that we know, it was hard. It was hard reality, poverty, crime, drugs, and then you have metal. That's why metal was huge in Brazil, always since the 80s. Metal it's a phenomenon in Brazil. It's really big, and I think the countries relate to that, to the hard life.
Absolutely, Max. I mean, it's such an honor to meet you. I mean, you're one of the reasons why I'm here today. I mean, I'm originally Lebanese, growing up in war-torn Lebanon. Your music spoke to me, and as it did to our guest tonight, Jake Shuker, who's from Syria. So I want to turn to Jake. Listening to Max talk about the hardship in Brazil and how metal was, very much part of that. Can you tell us about your experience, how, metal is connected to what's happening in Syria right now with the war?
Hi, do you hear me?
Yep, we can.
First of all, I just want to say how much I'm honored and thrilled to be hosted by you guys. And just like Lina said, I just want to say that Max here today makes this epic. And I just don't know what to say about, just like she said, you are the reason why a lot of metalheads in my country, in Syria, they listen to heavy metal because you are the reason they made them listen to such music in such a place. And just like you said about coming from a country like Brazil, well, this is how we share this common thing, that Syria is like one of the hardest ever places. It's kind of impossible to live there right now, like seriously. Starting from the music itself, and ending with the war, and everything related to all of that. Metal was the cure and the key to every metalhead to survive this, let me say, this dark period that we had to face back in our own country. And therefore we had to face all that we have to face, like since the war started. Not like it's not about just being a metalhead and facing war. It's about being a human being facing war with metal. It's like creating your own safe way to absorb all of the gore and the war sounds and everything, into channel it into just music, channel it into how you feel about music, about your passions, So I gotta say back again, thank you so much, Max, for being here and listening to the world. Like, you know, there are so many metalheads right now. Just want to listen to what we have to discuss today. So thank you all for this.
No, thank you, Jake. And I mean, speaking of metal as a savior, I guess Max, you know, this is no stranger to you. This kind of way of looking at metal. I was really enjoying your series with Soulfly Max Tracks, because I really like, even though I don't play the guitar myself, but I really like the dissection of riffs that you're doing and enjoying all the stories. And then it struck me, the episode from October when you're talking about Arise, you were talking about the killing of Dimebag and how that in a way inspired at the time calling your album Dark Ages. And then you said 2020 is the new Dark Ages. So I just want to know, how is metal as the cure working out for you in 2020?
Yeah, I think metal always been the salvation, from the beginning. And I think not just for me, but for many people around the world, all the way through. I cannot even imagine like being a metal fan and having a band in Syria and stuff, So I tip my hat off to you guys for having the bravery to do that. But I understand the passion the metal gives you to want to do that, and I think so. We put all those feelings into the music, everything that we are feeling, So when we wrote a lot of those songs, in fact, there's one song it was actually it was my wife's idea, Gloria. She has a lot of friends in Iran, and she was telling me about the struggles of being a metal fan in Iran, and I should write a song about that. So we did on Killer Be Kill first record, and it's called Forbidden Fire. And it's a beautiful song. It's really, especially Troy's vocals, it's really amazing. And the song is really is the way we understood the struggle, the way we see it, because I think we kind of take it for granted in the West, I guess, like wearing your favorite black band T-shirt and playing metal for us is just something that we just do normally on a daily basis. But in places like Iran, is it dangerous, or Syria, is a dangerous thing. You can go to jail for that, just for liking metal, which is absurd, So I think it's but I think that's where music comes in as salvation, for all of us, for to unite everybody, and gives you strength, gives you a lot of power, a lot of strength, especially the aggressive, the aggression in the music. I actually was checking out Jake's band, yesterday, and I heard about the podcast, so I went, and I really like it. It's really, really great stuff, man. Especially War Sphere. I really like War Sphere a lot. Very, very good song. So it's all about the struggle and the passion. It's bigger than anything else. We make it happen.
Indeed. Jake, how does it make you feel to hear Max saying that he's checked out what you're doing?
I just it's a moment where you like when we grew up listening to classics like Roots, Bloody Roots, Territory, and everything. We even covered Territory in one of our concerts in Old Damascus, where we had this front line where there were like bombs and mortars were dropping off the place at the gallery. We were performing at some art gallery, and we covered Territory back then, and it was so like to see this the irony, like there are like mortar shells dropping from above, where you are just covering the song that talks about
The real war for
and,
territory.
and this like the whole. Yes, like we were living the song, we were living the dream, we were living the passion. Only we were frightened because at some point you realize that this is death what you're talking about. Though nothing prevent us from playing our favorite songs that we all like. We grew up listening to your songs. We grew up and we're still listening, and we will probably die listening to your songs. So if you're gonna ask me about my feelings right now, this is historic. This is historic, and thank you, man. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting though, because we many times we have this internal conversation, you know, because I think, you know, if you're like me, if you're like a lot of people, I mean, year zero for heavy metal was Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, you know. I mean, just like that's the band that brought it all together, you know. But when it comes to this idea of global metal, you know, I mean, Max, so much of your music seems to have that significance. Does it surprise you just to discover how far and wide it's gone? And I don't just mean distance, but I also mean just in terms of the different cultures that it's connected with.
Well, that was one of the things that, you know, I think it started with Chaos AD. That's when we really started open our music up to different influences, and we start thinking differently, recording different places. So we went to Wales with Andy Wallace and recorded Chaos AD. And I had the idea to record Caiovas, which is a song about a Brazilian tribe that committed suicide in a Welsh castle. You know, it's just crazy. It's crazy stuff. But I think it's the beginnings. I think you can see the beginnings of this world metal kind of idea of going to different places. And then of course, you know, Roots was real big of diving down back to Brazil and recording with the Chavante Indians. It's in the middle of the record. And after that, Soulfly continued this idea. I record in many places like Egypt and Serbia, especially on Prophecy. I went to Serbia and did a lot of recordings with very unusual instruments. We met this professor of music of Belgrade, was specialized in Middle Ages instruments. So we put all these Middle Ages instruments, and I love that, and I like to continue doing that. And the other thing we always did was always told our booking agent, we want to go everywhere. We play everywhere. We don't care if we don't make money. It's okay. It's not about that. It's about the exploring new territories. So, you know, the first time we went to Kazakhstan was amazing. When I went to, you know, the first time we went to South Africa, it was amazing. You know, it's like exploring new places. Unfortunately, not much of Middle East. I have not been, you know, I never been to India. I never been to Dubai. I like to. I hopefully will soon, you know, in the next couple of years, I get to do that. But it's always been this kind of like, we always told our booking agent, we want to go everywhere. We play everywhere. We don't care. You know, it's really kind of like, because I think I kind of like, I always felt like, especially being from Brazil, where we didn't have many shows when we were kids. I understand the excitement that you get when you go to a country that doesn't have many concerts, and it's incredible, amazing for those fans to see their favorite band. And even if the equipment is not good and the conditions are not the best, none of that matters. What matters is that you are there with them, sharing the metal, and that's amazing. That's a really great. I think that I like to continue, you know, playing more places, hopefully in the future. And I also continue experimenting with the different world. You know, I'm a huge outside metal. I love musicians like Peter Gabriel and Dead Can Dance, the mix world music elements. So I always been interested, and I like the fact now the metal is actually going to all the different parts of the world, especially with the internet. You know, you get these days you get, yeah. I mean, look at Jake, you know, from Syria, it's playing metal, and um, you know, right, I'm wearing a Rip to Shreds shirt. They're from, you know, of course, uh, based in California, but part of the band is from Taiwan, you know, and I love that. I love that metal is becoming a global phenomenon. You know, you have a lot of bands come from very, very different parts of the world. There's no more barriers anymore. I think it's, especially with the, like I said, with the internet, it broke down barriers. And that's one thing, like you mentioned about the Max Tracks. One of the coolest thing about Max Tracks is people from all over the world watches, you know, and it's for free. You don't have to pay anything. And I just sit down in my living room and jam riffs and tell them stories about the songs. And but a lot of times after I'm done with the Max Tracks, I look at the some of the comments, and there's people from, you know, China. There's people from Iraq, Iran, and Brazil, Argentina, Nicaragua. It's great. I love that. It's definitely a global thing, and it should be like that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much that you said there that resonates. And I just, because I happen to know that Jake is also in some ways living or following the path that you set by going back to his roots with the new album. Max, I know that when you were thinking about Roots, Bloody Roots, you were thinking there is sounds, music in Brazil that has been in existence for 500 years that you wanted to connect with. And I know because I've been, talking to Jake about this, about the new album that he's composing. Well, actually, he's finished composing, recording, and finishing it now. Jake, you also are going back to your roots in many, many ways than one. I mean, one is rather ancient, isn't it, when it comes to the whole Ogarit influence?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, I just had to listen. I've always been this history guy, this mythologies guy. So back then, when I used to study history at school, and I wasn't like this kind of interested in going back to my roots, not in every way. Not until I made it to this stage where there is music by my side, where I could communicate with my ancestors by my music. And that's what basically, that's how the whole thing started, as a point to reach where your ancestors were and to understand. And to the cool thing about heavy metal in general, you can always be what you are. Like, we grew up listening to Oriental music in our environment, like the neighbor. You have this mosque where it's it's all inside our heads. So basically, when you are composing, you get to build this whole thing into what you want to, like. I have this history thing in my mind, and I have this music. Let me do this connection, and let me tell the people our stories. Let them be known. I thought about our mythology faced a lot of injustice on the internet and on exposure wise. So I thought to myself, we gotta do it. And we came back to just like where the Ogaritians and the Phoenicians started this whole thing. They started the civilizations, started this whole, let me tell you, we thought about music as it is, The Phoenicians, they did this whole, sorry, all right, just, yeah. All right, I live to earth, I live to heaven, and I tongue to the stars. it was directly taken from an Ugaritic tablets found in Ugarit. When I saw this whole thing and I was reading about it, it just hit up my mind, and I wanted to make music about my ancestors. That's the whole thing.
Indeed.
Okay, Jake, including the oldest note in the world, that you have to tell us that story.
Yes, please.
Yes, sorry.
Yep.
I'm saying the oldest note in the world.
All right. I've been like watching a couple of videos about some Syrian composers, classical composers. So I catched up with a video for a Syrian composer, a pianist. He's called Malik Jandali, and there was like the title of the video. It just hit up my mind like immediately. Echoes from Ogaret. And the guy, he's a genius. He rearranged the whole thing into not, let me say it's not modern and it's not classical. It's just rearranged by his genius mind. So I instantly and immediately thought about it. This could be the greatest album intro ever because it's the oldest ever. It's simply as that, you know.
Well, it's fascinating the way that you guys have both completely different backgrounds and life experiences, but you've both connected like so many metal fans around the world with this music. I mean, because this isn't pop music. It's not something kind of throwaway. I mean, I fully believe that when you become a fan of metal, it's like you adopt an identity. It's not just something that you kind of have on the stereo and so on. And so, I mean, I guess it's just a question from the group, but even to direct toward Lina, in terms of, our experiences, what is unique about metal? What makes it different from other forms of self-expression? I mean, we're literally talking about everything from, surviving in wartime to surviving in, just oppressive experiences in Brazil to, adopting ancient notes and all that. What makes metal so unique that's so different from everything else from your perspective?
Who goes first?
You, Max, of course.
Why don't you jump in? Go ahead, Max.
Oh, you guys put me on the spot, huh? All right. Okay. Man, there's so many things about metal, I think, that makes it more special than, to me at least, that I feel that more special than, let's say, pop music, or I call it plastic music, it's like you listen and you throw it away, you don't care. Metal is the complete opposite of that. Once you become, it's like I was really inspired by Black Sabbath. We sold our souls to rock and roll, and I wrote we sold our souls to metal. Very, very ode to Black Sabbath, but it's true. Is the spirit of you feel like once you become a metalhead, it's a commitment for life. You're not gonna change next week and become something else. You're in it. There's no way out for life, and that's like a commitment I made when I was, I don't know, me and Igor must have been 13 years old. We are very young when we record Bestial Devastation. I think I was 14 and Igor was 13. There's some pictures on the internet us with corpse paint and, like this very Celtic Frost influence, Hellhammer. But I think everything from the way you dress to the way you put tattoos in your body to for the things that you like, like I have the tribal tattoo on my neck. For me, is the power of the chords, of the vocal, of the screams. That's where my power of the screams come from. So there's connection with tattoo. So there's connection with the t-shirt, battle vest that you wore. I love this name, battle vest. It's great. I didn't know they were called that, but I was like, yes, this is a great name. And I have about 10 different battle vests now. and then of course you have the music itself, which is, like if I'm feeling depressed or having a bad day, I can always put some really good heavy stuff and my day becomes better. It's just as simple as that. uh, so yeah, I think metal is it's everything, man. It's because I'm such a fan. I'm a musician, and been doing it for a long time, but before I'm a musician, I'm a fan. I'm a fan first and musician second. So I'm always listening to new bands, excited to discover new bands. I like to help them. Think that I don't forget the bands that help us. So it's like a never-ending cycle. We have to help them now that we are a little bit bigger. That's why on Max Tracks I wear T-shirts of bands that I like and talk about them, and try to help them out. And it's been like that forever. The beginning of Sepultura, I was tape trading with Chuck from Death, the guys from Morbid Angel, and the guys from Possessed, and all the collaborations I made through the years. I recorded with a lot of really amazing people that I really like, from all different spectrums. Again, from Corey of Slipknot all the way to Sean Lennon. It's great. It's great. I love collaborations. I love sharing the metal with people. Everything about metal is great, man. Everything. It's we breathe metal 24 hours a day. It's amazing.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I have to say, for me, as I said, I grew up in a war-torn country. And if I were to summarize, why I think metal is great and what it meant at the time and still does now is, again, I'm going to quote you, something you said in '96 when you released Roots. You said, it's basically, don't let the bastards grind you down. And that's the attitude, it's about resilience, defiance, just doing it regardless, despite everything. And this is the attitude that I'd like to at least think I apply to every aspect of my life. But you know what? Now, for me, it's not just about that, because as you were saying about your journey, going around the world, learning from bands and from traditions and cultures that are different to your own, it's this openness and richness that is also very exciting. I mean, it's only when I met Jake that I discovered that the oldest note in the world comes from Syria. Because it was discovered written in this Ogarit ancient site that Jake mentioned. And then some Syrian musicians, as he said, decided to record it, or, over the piano. And now Jake is also recording it for Maysaloon's album. So I like how through metal also I found out about many issues like the tribes in Brazil, for example, that, you've engaged with. I mean, I have lots of family in Brazil. So part of my family is also Brazilian. And again, this allows me to dive into that side of my history that I didn't know before. And so for me, metal has become this amazing, magical world that, not just helps me deal with my daily life, but also expands my horizons. So I want to turn now to Jake, for his take on all that.
Yeah, talking about history, metal, and Middle East is such disastrous thing, because you have a lot of things to talk about when you say all these things together. Starting from the environment and communities that we live in, the religious existence in the area made it disastrous for people like us, for artists in general, to keep up with the music they make, whatever the topic is if it's not as let's Listen, you've been talking about metal, how metal is such a rebellious music. It was because it was like based and it was created for this purpose, by its tone, by the guitar playing style, by everything. It's a music for rebels, you know. And in the region here, right here in the Middle East, it's really known that it's one of the bloodiest spots on earth, since the beginning of times. Um, Being in a country like this, in a place, an area like this, and doing music, doing heavy music, um, it always gives you this feeling that you are facing more than just a community, more than just media, or more than just there are a lot of things, a lot of like obstacles you'll have to face it in order just to get like a little bit of hope for your career as a musician. It's really, really, really hard to live it this way. Yet we always like look for that hope, because there are some people like Max in this world that has a really good heart and kind heart towards other artists and other people. As he said, he discovering new bands. This it means a lot to people like me to know that such an icon listen to his band, for example. This is what is metal about. It's about passion. It's about living as a rebel. It's about creating, being creative, and doing what it takes to make what you really want.
No, absolutely. I mean, I first met Jake because he got in touch with me online saying, I hear you help bands. And I said, but you're in Syria. Like, what on earth could I do for a band in Syria? And I just said, you know what, I'll just stay in touch. And, like, I don't know what I can do. And I've been so impressed and amazed. I mean, it's just really one of the unlikeliest things ever, but it's really the spirit of metal. I mean, right now, Maysaloon want to have a professional sound, and they're, finishing this album. They've launched a crowdfunding campaign because no label will want to sign a band from Syria. So, the struggle faced by people in the Middle East is, quite tough when it comes to, I mean, of course, it's difficult for bands everywhere in the world. Metal especially is not easy. As what Max was saying, it's not plastic music. You can't just have it on the radio, in the morning as you're preparing your breakfast to go to work. It's not that kind of, thing. So the opportunities are smaller for metal artists. But I'm always in awe of the attitude of people who want to do it regardless. Like, if they can't afford to record in a fancy studio, they're gonna record at home. It's just like, we're gonna do it anyway, which I think is why we're all here really having this conversation. It's because if we weren't optimists at the end of the day, I think we would have given up a long time ago.
Exactly.
Max, is that a struggle that you can relate with? I mean, just hearing about those things, because I mean, if anything, as much as the music you're responsible for, in the early days, I mean, it couldn't have been easy to break in. I mean, just tell us a little bit about that experience of trying to get noticed, and what I assume is also trying to be taken seriously as this voice in a place where people don't necessarily associate with heavy metal. What was that like?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's I think it's kind of like the struggle. This is like when the struggle becomes the glory, because I remember in Brazil when we first started, right, the beginning, right, even before Best Devastation, we were a three-piece. We were the most hated band in Brazil. Everybody hated, even our family hated. Nobody. So it's really you against the whole world. It's like, man, the feeling that you have is like, nobody likes us. Not even our family likes us. And I remember playing our first show, and we were open for this band that sounded like Iron Maiden, and they were great. and we sounded like out of tune Motorhead, you know. And out of the people that were in the bar, there was like 20 people in the bar. There was one guy with a Motorhead shirt after the show. You guys are fucking great. And everybody else was like, this is the worst thing I ever heard. This is the worst band ever, you know. But I think it's a motivation, man. You know, you gotta use that. You have to use that as uh, ammunition. You use the rejection. I always thought rejection is a great ammunition for artists, because the more you are rejected, the more you really want to show them that they are wrong and you are right. And for us, it took a long time in Brazil. I mean, you know, it took all the way to '89 to when we first started going to Europe with opening for Sodom. That finally on the charts in the UK, we were above New Order, which was like the Brazilian darling band of the media. It was, I think it was like New Order and the Smiths, and Sepultura was like above them. The Brazilian media freaked out. It's impossible. How can this be? This is not happening, you know. And then, you know, little by little, it eventually became, you know, the opposite when everybody in the country then accepts you. But it's always been me in Brazil. It's always been a really strange tale. You know, we relating to many different eras of Max. Of course, I have many fans there, and I love the country. I love, you know, I fight for Brazil. I wear Brazilian guitar, you know, with pride. But it's a different pride. It's not nationalistic pride. It's more pride of the struggles that the country goes through, you know. But I think that you know, you have to do many sacrifices. I remember our first microphone we got, it was, we went to see a pop band, and we had a plan. They throw me on the stage, and I jump on the stage, and I grab the microphone and shove it in my pants, and we ran out of the club. So we stole our microphone from a pop band. You know, it was like, you have to do these things to survive. It's like, it's survival mode, you know. So that's why I think, you know, I say that to Lina and to Jake. You're on the right path, brother. You know, doing the right things, and you know, keep grinding, because eventually things will start happen, you know. But yeah, like but part of the excitement of being in a band are those struggles, I think, you know, because I can always go back in time and remember all the struggles we went through, and I remember them with a lot of good memories in my mind. It's really, you know, it was a great thing. We did it. It was really us against the world kind of feeling, and you can do it, man. You just have to have, I know, you know, a lot of discipline in believing in what you're doing, and be very fearless and be committed, you know, very committed to it. And I hope, you know, somehow a lot of people watching this podcast out there are young musicians. They are sitting in their, going to the garage and playing riffs, and hopefully they'll be inspired by this talk, because I think this we're touching in many cool topics here about, you know, different parts of the world, and coming from the struggles that these different parts of the world offers. So yeah, I think it's a very inspirational talk, hopefully for a lot of people out there.
Well, I don't hope so. I think I know so. Definitely based on the reactions that we've been seeing in the chat, Max, because I think what you're saying rings true with a lot of people. Now, just as a follow-up to that, I mean, you talked about telling your agent you want to go to all of these different places. in a way, is that an expression because you know how hard it was to be visited by bands, back then and whatever else is that desire to tour and to really play different sorts of places? Does it come? Is it inspired by that early days experience that you had, feeling a bit on the outside?
No, I think that's a little bit more kind of my thing and Gloria's, my wife. I think we form a really great team together and we work together, and she's been my manager forever, and we both love to travel and visit like museums and see all different cool stuff. In fact, I love when we do crazy stuff like, I think it was like about 10 years ago, we were invited to go to Tunisia, and there wasn't Soulfly, it was just me. They invited me to go there and play with a metal band from Tunisia, and we play 2 Soulfly songs and 3 Sepultura songs. And I remember the show was in a harem, like a 1,000-year-old harem on the Mediterranean beach. It was amazing, but we were just so excited to be there, and then we do different stuff, like we play, we do shows. Soulfly plays the Navajo tribal reservation land here in Arizona, with a lot of the fans are Navajo fans, and they're, they live in the reservation, and we go there, and we know the president. I know the president of the Navajo Nation, and he's a great fan. He's a Max fan, which is crazy. Would have been great if he was president of America, not just Navajo Nation, but America itself. It would have been a much better place here right now. And all these things, man, all those crazy ideas. I think I always loved geography as a kid in school, and I always loved history. And I think the combination of the geography and the history, and the fact that when you're in a band, one of the coolest things that can happen is to travel to different places and play. That's the coolest. I think, to me, is the most amazing thing about, apart from the music side, apart from the creating music element, is that you write the songs, but you get to travel them. You get to go to present them in faraway places like Russia and Kazakhstan and South Africa. Really amazing experiences, man. I put a lot of them in I wrote a book a couple of years ago, My Bloody Roots, and I tried to put a lot of those stories in there about how it is because we've been to 80 countries now, and it's quite amazing when I think about it, from being from Brazil, from a Brazilian kid. In fact, what is kind of crazy is that my father was a diplomat, an Italian diplomat in Brazil, and he also moved around a lot. So we live in many different cities in Brazil. We're moving all the time. So in a weird way, I feel like I became a metal diplomat. I became a heavy metal. It's opposite of my father wanted me to be, but in a weird way, I actually did follow his footsteps in a strange way of it, but it's amazing. The traveling is to me a fascinating thing that happens when you're in a metal band and you get to do this traveling. You learn so much from the people and the culture, and then you realize the stuff that they say on the news, it's all bullshit. When you visit these countries, it's different. You meet the people, you talk to them in person, and you have a very different idea of the country that the one that was broadcast by media and news. So really experience the real world in a traveling way. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember Jake arriving in London for the first time ever last year in 2019, and one of the things that people, kept saying, because we hosted Jake in person at our World Metal Congress live event, which we did in London. people kind of saying that person is from Syria, because all people see when they think Syria is war and destruction and sadly terrorists and extremists on TV. And yet, there is this very other side of Syria that is not getting, news coverage, but which, I think has become a bit of a campaign for Jake on a personal level also, not in a, as you said, about nationalism. It's not about nationalism. It's about celebrating where you come from. So here, I just want to ask Jake about your new album. You mentioned briefly the title. So what's the inspiration for the album, and what have you been listening to try to kind of compose it? I mean, you don't have the privilege of traveling the world as Max has, but you still have, a rich, I guess, source of inspiration when it comes to the music you're listening to and all the things that inspired the album.
Well, I'm gonna answer this by saying I think traveling is really necessary for inspiration, but there are some point where you just cannot travel. You just cannot be only in the place where you are. This is where you try to play it around. You just cannot travel to witness something you want to witness to where you can get inspiration from. What you gotta do? You gotta do. As I mentioned before, we were raised in an environment where people around us listen to Oriental music all the time. When we go to celebrations on TV, even the advertising on our television, the national television, it's full of Oriental music, and we grew up listening to Oriental music. And in a point where you just want to show this up, you want to bring it up, and this is what got me in the first place to choose this kind of element to add to my music. And since we are really as members, we are influenced by the Swedish scene so much. And we got gathered many elements in order to channel all what we had. As I used to say, we have these 8 years of war mixed up and channeled into this whole album. It's going to be really dark, epic, and full of violence, full of anger, full of everything.
And speaking of albums, Max, you said about Soulfly's new album that you wanted to be a compilation of your whole career. I mean, 80 countries. What's I'm curious, what's the plan for this next one?
Yeah, I'm writing right now with my son Zion, and we go to. It's really cool because it's a little bit back to where I started. I feel very much writing this new record similar to writing stuff like Beneath the Remains, because I used to jam with Igor, with my brother, a lot. We would spend time jamming sometimes 2-3 times a week, just the two of us. And then on the weekend, the other Sepultura guys will come and join us. And this is exactly how I'm writing the new Soulfly, is with my son, Zion. So we are going, and yeah, it's kind of an idea. It was actually, I think, a little bit, both of us kind of he kind of wanted to kind of say, I think it'd be cool if you do a record that shows your whole influences all the way from the beginning, even from the black metal, death metal stuff, from Morbid Visions all the way through the thrash stuff of Arise and Nail Bomb, and the tribal stuff, Chaos and Roots, and then Soulfly, Killer to Be Killed. There's a lot of music influences through all these years. So I'm gonna try. It's gonna be a challenge, but we always up for a challenge. I'm a believer that it doesn't matter how many things you've done, I think you can always dream to achieve better. You can always try to do better. You can always, at least try. Uh, maybe you succeed, maybe you don't. I don't know. But you give your best shot. It's like you really really try the best you can. So yeah, so I'm in this the writing riffs right now, just compiling riffs. Hopefully, be in the studio, which is one of the things about COVID that made us we can do studio recordings. We can do even home recordings is great. Like this day and age, a lot of people recording from home and stuff. But I have a question for Jake. What does Maysaloon means?
Maysaloon, it's a place in Syria. It's like it's a hill or a place like a hill. There has to be in a time where we had this French occupation on Syria, and they had this glorious battle of Maysaloon where the Syrians had to sacrifice themselves in a glorious stand against the French occupation. And this is where I got inspired to call it this name, because we didn't had this hope that we could make it to the scene, like make it to the world, but we were doing nonetheless.
Very cool, man. Very cool.
Indeed. Well, an amazing story, and I feel a little heartbroken because the time has really, really flown today. But so many important and stimulating ideas, have come up. I have to apologize. We have people that have been watching from Russia, from Sweden, from Lebanon, Belgium. The list just goes on and on. And I just wondered, Max, just if I could just, as a final question, what advice do you give to anyone who's watching, who is finding it difficult to make it to break in to this global scene? What would you say to them?
Well, I think the main thing is like I said, the commitment, to believe in your dream, and even if you feel that is the world against you, that might even be like I said, like the best thing, because you use that as as your weapon. I always thought of music and metal as kind of a weapon against all the frustrations that you have in life. You can fight it with your guitar. Your guitar becomes your weapon. Your voice becomes a weapon. The things you're saying becomes a weapon. So yeah, I think it's I think it's an exciting time also, because in a way you have the internet that broke so many barriers, and it's a bit maybe a little bit easier to put your stuff out there, but always go back to the heart. I think put your heart in what you're doing and work hard. Those are the main things that I can offer to people as I guess guidelines to do what they want to do. And it is rebellious music, it is rebel type of music. So that side should always also be alive in whatever you do. So yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna see in the years upcoming many more bands come. There's more and more all the time. It's never gonna stop. I think metal is the kind of music that sometimes goes more popular, less popular, but it never goes away. It's always there, which is great. It doesn't die. It refuses to die. And that's the what I love about metal. And hopefully this conversation became an inspiration for people. So I want to thank Alexander and Jake and Lina. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm very curious about your new record. I want to hear. And man, this was a blast. Thanks for having me be part of this.
Well, Max, I'm sure that I speak for everyone who's watching and everyone who's on the call, that you continue to be an inspiration for so many people, both on and off the stage. So thank you so much for your time. And Jake, thank you so much for sharing your ideas. And we'll continue to support and wave the flag. Okay,
of course.
Be well.
Yeah, thank you both. Hopefully we'll see you in person. Max, last time I saw you was on stage in London exactly a year ago. So here's to not waiting another year before we're all in a metal venue getting sweaty. Thank you, everyone.
Be well. Take care. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Okay. Well, Lina, I'm gonna literally just go and smile for like the next 5 days. I'm not sure how you're feeling, but I'm pretty happy about that. How about you?
Well, I mean, I think Max Cavalera is one of not just the nicest people in metal. I think he's one of the nicest people in the world, and he's just made my year. I have to say, I mean, 2020 has been such a horrible year, and yeah, you know, you have someone with such a generous spirit and the curiosity and the graciousness, you know, to seek out new things all the time, help out new bands. It's just really inspiring, and it just shows that no matter, you know, how hard things are in the world, there is always someone inspirational who's a true icon, a true legend. And look at Jake, you know, this is, I would say, one of Max's legacies, to have people like that who are in a way carrying this journey forward in their own way. It's just yeah, I mean, despite all the hardships, today's episode has definitely also made me even more optimistic than usual.
Well, that's why we do it. Yeah. So thank you so much to everybody who's joined us today. You know, I think we're all just feeling just a bit happy, you know, just to kind of see things like this happening, because you know, it's only through the support of people who visit us, who join the website, who sign up the newsletter, that we do this, you know, because it really is a labor of love. And so, you know, until the next one, this is going to be a hard one to top, but do come back to worldmetalcongress.org, sign up to our newsletter, and find out about what's next. We also have the full details of Jake's crowdfunding campaign, and of course, links to the new Kill or Be Killed album as well. Okay, thank you so much.